Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, one and all, to this Blades in the Dark Cult of the Circle. Thank you very much for joining us here for an evening of daring do and lovely crimes. My name is Tom. I use he, him pronouns, and I will be your Blade Master for the evening. The city of Doskvol. A city of intrigue and wickedness. A city where the dead walk the streets and ghosts haunt every building. What you're about to see this evening is the tale of some criminals, entrepreneurs here in this terrifying city, and maybe a few little ghosts and ghoulies, maybe even a few gods to keep you entertained this evening. I have been keeping you for far too long, so it is my delight to introduce you to some of our players and our sponsors.
Hello, my name is Evie. I use she, her pronouns, and I am playing who uses any pronouns. She is a foreign research student at Doskvol Academy, conducting research into shadows and how they interact with the undead. Also has a weird thing for jam. We'll see if it comes up and becomes plot relevant or not.
Hi, I'm Scarlett. I'll be playing Hag, who is the Whisperer. If you have any issues with ghosts, she's the one to call. And obviously, she lives with two grannies who are amazing and knit everything. Jam! Oh no.
Hello there, my name's Josh, and I will be playing Wraith, the Spider. Wraith has come from a land far, far away and is currently in the process of hunting down a group known as the Faceless. Will he succeed? Will there be jam? We don't know. Let's find out.
Check out our sponsor, Phoenix Dice, for carefully crafted click-clack math rocks for use in your favourite TTRPGs. Phoenix Dice work with recycled goods, meaning their products and packaging are all made from sustainable materials. You can go to phoenixdice.com to check their entire selection.
Big love to our D20 Club on Patreon. They're great. You're wonderful. We love you so much. And they help us keep the kobolds in line, which is very important. They get up to all sorts of cheeky jam-related activities. Anyway, the D20 Club, they've created a fan Discord where you can come and chat about all things Roll Together. And they've created a wiki page to help you keep track of all of our stories, which you can find at rolltogether.fandom.com. You can join and be as cool as they are from as little as one of your local currencies per month by following the link in chat or in the description below.
You can find us on social media by searching Roll Together RPG or by following the links in chat or in the description below. And if you can't join us live and also want to see any of our previous episodes, you can catch up straight after on YouTube or your favourite podcast provider by searching Roll Together RPG.
Finally, we run queer-friendly tables and encourage and support trans and GNC players and characters in our games. Our players and DM may portray characters that are of a different gender to their own. We aim to avoid misgendering but acknowledge that it does happen. We welcome corrections and have a company policy in place for correcting people on pronouns. Check out Safety in Chat for content warnings and some of the safety tools that we use through the TTRPG Safety Toolkit.
Hello, welcome back to Blades in the Dark Cult. We are currently doing the one-shot, looking into the downtime of Wraith, and now, interesting enough, some of his backstory back in the far-off lands to the south of Aruvia. In the first part, Wraith basically slept for 2 weeks, just trapped up in a dream, which he seems prone in his downtime to fall back into. He discovered that living in a signal box and not constantly checking for stowaways has resulted in someone residing at the bottom of his signal box. He went in across town to the night market to talk to one of his contacts, the information broker / baker, Salia. Salia was able to inform of a group who are known as the Faceless, a group of mercenaries / assassins, possibly a dozen, who seem to travel the world dealing with problems. One of them was spotted in Crowsfoot, the crossroads of the city, and another was spotted in basically breaking a strike in the small townlet of Char Hollow, possibly by just blowing the building up when sometimes when everything's a nail, everything can be a hammer too. Rafe has returned to his rather sad, burnt-out little home, and by eating the bread that he got from the baker and drinking the Nile juice, has fallen once again back into reminiscing of a couple of how far back? A couple of years? How long is it? How long have you been? How's it been since you've been in your homeland?
Probably 2, maybe 3 years.
2-3
I
years ago.
reckon. Yeah.
2 to 3 years ago in Aruvia. Aruvia is another one of the islands in this world. It is to the south. It is a land of deserts and volcanoes. The book describes it as a mixture between Egypt, Persia, and India. But the part of the world that I'm going to be ever so bold and simply say Valen. Where Valen lives, out there in the desert. As we've established, the world does not have a sun. It does not have a moon. But this is a very beautiful part of a dark world. No Doskvol, which is choked with pollution and smog and noise. There's just the silence of the desert. And Valen, you are at home. Do you want to describe what your home is like?
So my home is made. It's not so where Doskvol is very. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Blade Master, but it's very steampunky, more technology based. The home that I live in is a lot more back to basics. We do use some steampunk technology, some things to help us, but we're not reliant on it. We're more traditional in our values, but having these things helps. You wouldn't find massive mining. Basically, we're not coated in air pollution like other areas of the world are. We're not reliant on the technology. We are self-sufficient.
Doskvol, until relatively recently, used to run on the oils from the whales they brought in. Now, electricity runs Doskvol. It powers the street lamps. It powers the great electrical walls which keep the dead out. For this is a world where the gates of the afterlife were flung open, and upon death, your ghost walks the world. Yes, so this is not a part of the world that relies on the whales. Even it's more reliant on naturally discovered things. Even weirdly, oil. It's just like out in the desert where you're like, hey, here's a thing we can burn. I sure hope no one's going to start a war over this. And they're like, no, electricity is a power. Yes, it's also how do you think? Again, sort of like how do your people deal with the ghosts of those who have been lost in the desert?
It's not something that Valen is very. He knows things through the training that he's had to how they deal with ghosts through other means. Some call it magic, although it could be that it's a different form of science as opposed to what Doskvol uses for electricity and stuff. But as part of his training as a Nassar, which is basically a Pharaoh's guard, he would know that there is something that protects certain areas from these from ghosts and everything. But it's not. It's more that it's smaller pockets of things that are protected. We don't have the capacity to protect an entire city, sort of thing. So we don't actually have cities. We have like small colonies that are protected that sort of form into a city. Around, if that makes sense.
Yes, around Saru. Again, a pharaoh not of being of a small kingdom rather than say Egypt, where it's like again Egypt in the earlier days where it's the wars of the pharaohs. Yes, there's a small colony. Similarly, there are sort of old ways of driving the ghosts back. I think Doskvol with the Spirit Wardens is very much a find and destroy, which again, the ghosts on the whole are in Doskvol considered to be a violent inconvenience and a problem. Not so much here. It might be the possibility of like Doskvol, a lot of close things, a lot of people dying like that. Here, ghosts coming out of the desert. Very similar. Like you're the people of your kingdom being told, hey, when you hear voices talking to you out in the desert, don't go out there. I think
it would be more that my people are more respectful towards the dead, but there are people that would go on pilgrimages into the desert because they know that there is a possibility that they could see their loved ones that pop out of wherever the thinnest fabric between the underworld and the real world is. So there is a lot of funeral rites that are prepared for the dead in order for them to make that safe passage to wherever it is they need to go. So it's not, you'll still get ghosts that are wanting to suck the life out of things and kill people, but there is where I come from, they respect the dead a lot more.
Rather than the Spirit Wardens who send their crows out to find them and then get them back to the crematorium and burn them as soon as possible, bury them in the graveyard. Yeah.
So there'd be like a version of the Spirit Wardens that would, instead of doing what you said, they would either gently banish them or see them through to a way of peace and make them go back of their own accord, sort of thing.
I think from what we've sort of like vaguely said, that there is a sense of like when someone dies, there's a certain amount of funeral, but these wardens kind of lead the dead out into the desert because the assumption is, as I said, the gates to the afterlife have been flung open, and if the gates are open, there's no reason why you can't get. Yes, there's been a problem with the dead have been coming out again, but I think there's more of a respect for, as I said, more respect for the dead rather than the quick. We need to get them in the ground as soon as possible. Which I realise is a bit of a, considering I asked you about your house, and I was like, yeah, let's talk about the afterlife. Yes, you, the kingdom you're living in, as I said, is relatively small, maybe a couple of, no more than thousands of people. It's established. You are, as you said, you are one of the guards of the pharaoh, and you have been in the service of the pharaoh for close to 25 years now.
Yes.
Ever since you were a child. Were you enlisted forcefully into being at service to the pharaoh, or was it something that your family chose for you, or did you go, yeah, no, this is what I want to do?
So I would have been very young when it was. So if you think of, we're in the UK, so in the UK, going school age is like between 4 and 5. 3 if you go to like between 3 and 4 if you go to reception. So Valen is, in modern times where he's Wraith, is in his early 30s. So I would say that he would have been it would have been when he was like 5 or 6. So it would have been like he's gone to school, but it's like a boarding school. So the way that it works, sorry.
No, this is why I'm excited, yeah.
The way that it works is that the Nassar are a what is it called? A group of soldiers, or Pharaoh's elite soldiers, that are their duty is to protect the pharaoh and the pharaoh's family, and it has been their duty to do that for time immemorial. The thing with that is that each Nassar is a part of a family, and the families have been a part of the Nassar for, again, the same amount of time. You might get families that might come and go. They say, we retire from our service. The pharaoh might let them go, like during a time of war, sort of thing. Or after a time of war, they've gone, you may retire, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So there's a special school that he would have gone to because of his family connections. His father would have served, his mother would have served, grandfather, grandmother, going all the way up, would have served the pharaoh in some fashion. And it's not in a forced way. It's like a birthright thing.
Yeah, I think that's, again, where it's you're given that right, and it's good. It's a good chance, as you said. Even if you're not a Nassar, your family will still serve. As you said, your parents, your father, your mother, both serve the pharaoh, and it's a hard life. It's as said, like, you started training when you were barely learning to read, and as we've established, there are some interesting side effects of it, such as the ability to sit silently for 2 weeks and not need to eat. Various other sort of little skills that you're taught. We've discussed that the armor you wear is golden, which looks particularly beautiful in the natural fire. But there is also other armor made of animal skin, leather, for when Valen is sent off to do other work. For this is not a time of war, but there's always other kingdoms who want to come. I think, like Egypt, the reason that your kingdom is doing so well is that there is a river. And that's always, if you're going to build a kingdom, you want to be near the river. So, I mean, the world we're living in is a bizarre one because of the lack of sun, but the things that can grow in the soil near the river. So it's also, as I said, as a time of peace, it's given a chance for your kingdom to grow. As I said, it's closer to 1,000 people, but nothing going to stop you getting bigger, And yeah, if you're going to have to go to war, you're going to have to go to war. But yes, as a young man, sort of mid-20s, your house, again, made of the clay, and it's very. I say this as both me and Josh slowly sweat in the British summer. It's good at keeping the night out, but also keeping the heat. That's the weird thing, because I'm like, the heat. What heat? There is no sun, but yes, this is a land of volcanoes.
The heat would come from the volcanoes.
The land of volcanoes. And I feel it hasn't happened in your generation, but your grandparents would have talked about having to leave when the volcanoes started going off. And then, so I think the way that, for certainly what was a nomadic civilization, there is still a feeling of don't own anything that you couldn't leave within, which Rafe has still maintained, sort of, if Rafe needed to leave that signal box, I mean, there's some items, but there's nothing he couldn't just throw into a bag or just abandon.
Yeah, pretty much carries everything with him. Anything that he needs, he can get sort of on the road. As long as he's got the dagger that he holds and the ring that he has, he's pretty happy.
And I think that is something that has been instilled into you by the Nassar. All you need is the dagger at your side and the ring on your finger. Both of them establishing your position in the society. With that formal knife, which has seen combat, because there's always someone who wants to kill the pharaoh. One of his siblings comes back, and again, it's not been easy life for you, but it's been, you know, again, for your grandparents being like, oh yes, and then the little Kalo, we had to run. And as I said, like, it's been a long build up to get into the world, but you are sitting there enjoying a slice of this bread, this stronger spice here, you know, fresher. And again, it's something that Rafe will think about during these times of like going, yes, to have your favorite like bread, and then to realize when it's gone, you know, what a thing. But you aren't alone currently in your house. There is someone else there with you. Who is that?
That would be my wife, Telia.
Telia. What's she like?
She is powerful, a force to be reckoned with. She also serves. She also serves as part of the Asar, and has done. We pretty much grew up together, going through the training and the schooling and everything that we would do together. Both of our families have been doing it for a while. Her family slightly longer than mine. They were inducted into the order, as it were, maybe a century or so before my family was. And she's also the oldest of her family. So one other thing would be that it's not all of the children that go. It would be, because they have to keep normal civilization going as well, it would be the eldest of each family that are part of the Nasar would become a member of the Nasar. So Valen's probably got a brother and a sister that were born years after he was, and they are either within the educational system of the kingdom, or they are working, doing other things. Depends on how old they are, but he doesn't really talk to them.
No, again, that's the odd thing about this civilization, because there is like a real respect for like generational learning and this sort of stuff, but also it's like going, amazing, so your family was established a century ago. I don't give a shit, you're part of the Nasar now. This is your family. This is your and actually that's sort of the crossing of the two families, very, very common. And that's sort of because it's also sort of like slightly weird, because you're like, yeah, you've spent literally your entire life with these people, and then it's like, hey, you want to get married? Yeah.
we grew up together. Talia and myself grew up together. I ventured into, there's different departments of the Nasar. I went into more of the guarding the pharaoh, like at his throne type of guarding, escorting him or them around, whoever the pharaoh is at the time, around the various parts of the kingdom. And Telia was more of the, as we established earlier, the kingdom's version of the spirit wardens. They would be the one. She was one of the ones who would go around, and if there were incidents, ghosts, she would deal with them in the manner that they would. So that's where the differences are between the two of them.
Yes, Talia has more of an attuned nature, is able to access the spirit realm well. So that's quite the interesting thing, as you said, where you deal with it's a mixture of like you're dealing with the physical, but you're also and there's sort of like looking at the skills that Rafe has then achieved, the more analytical aspect of so you stand there with your hand on your dagger, but you're able to read a room and say, okay, so that person, okay. And there has been a few times where you have just clocked like a visitor, and everyone's like been like, oh, and then they're like, oh, that is a knife, and then the pharaoh again. It's that sort of weird thing of like going, the pharaoh knows who you are, and but it's not, you don't talk to the pharaoh. The pharaoh is chosen by the divine. No, but and also Talia has done. You're both peak, you know, sort of like for saying like your family relatively newer to this, and then basically what I'm saying is this has been a good match, and it has been noted that it's sort of like, and there is particular excitement of going, if the parents are like this, you wait until the child arrives. Then, for the pharaoh has a very large family, and has spread again, sort of like there's not an isolationist feel to the kingdom. The children have spread out across. There is even talk of some of the children going across the dark seas, possibly to other islands, and also vague conversations of the city of Doskvol, which has once again, every time you get it back, it's like, yep, those people in Doskvol, they're kicking off again. There's always a revolution or something, or like a massive train explosion where you're like, cool, now part of the city is gone. And for a civilization who are like, yeah, we're used to calamity. Amateur hour, yeah. Oh yeah, something blew up. Okay. Yes, so both you and Talia are enjoying your bread. It's that nice, quiet ease of two people who are very comfortable. As I said, you have spent your entire life pretty much with this woman and others like her. These both lean, sharp-eyed people who can read a room. She finishes her bread and is like, well, let us hope for another quiet day then.
It would be good for a quiet day. I have a few days of leave at the moment, so
yes.
I am not required to be at the palace for a little while. That is, so perhaps we could go on that walk along the river that we had spoken about.
I mean, every time that we plan something pops up to kind of ruin our plans, but no. All right.
How about this time we do not let it ruin our plans? Let's just ignore it. There's a bit of it's not insubordination if it is our designated time off, no?
Oh, husband mine, you would have us ignore possible dangers when we see him? Oh, you are wicked, but it is why I like you. All right. We will turn our eyes away from possible snakes and terrifying phantoms. No, let us go for our walk.
I still take my my weapons with me, of course. But
of course, she's also she's sort of like again. This is where we jump around the timeline. Rafe would have seen something very similar that Hag has, where it's like a staff that can be used to attack and drag back ghosts. She has again. It's like a small rod that when you press it, it's like, no, you're both heavily armed.
We're going for a nice romantic walk. Sword, dagger,
yeah,
spear,
blow darts,
shield.
She has sort of again very similar, because you aren't in much. Again, you got your chest out in the. She's also in quite a light robe, but has very clearly got like a bandolier of like potions, powders. It's again the heat from the volcano keeps it. But indeed, you having finished you have broken your fast. She takes your arm. This tall woman near your height, lean. Again, so you'd think, oh yeah, because she deals with ghosts. No, ghost hunting takes a lot of running and jumping, and just she's. I myself am already falling a little bit in love with this woman. She's very cool. So yes, you and Talia take out the streets lit with bushels, burning plants. The oil, as I said. There's the smell of smoke constantly, sort of. But again, sort of like while Doskvol is very much like, we are going to keep the electricity running. There's the lights. It's hey, I like this place. It's a nice place that you decided to live in. You gotta live somewhere. You head out of your house. It is the early hours of the morning. The citadel is starting to wake up. Again, the smell of the bread, the potters is beginning to open. You head down to the river. What would you like to talk about?
As we walk down there, I'll big smile on my face, will just nudge her with my shoulder and go, "You realize that this walk of ours is an excuse for both of us to say that we are actually on perimeter watch, don't you?"
Oh, yes, of course. We have to, She points at, like, a bird, and it's like, Got it. Yes, you are. It is quite amusing to watch two guards basically walking, still kind of arm in arm, but you are marching along, like taking in. You are keeping an eye on the perimeter. The desert is dark. The desert is full of secrets and ghosts. And in fact, you don't see it as well as she does, but clearly, sort of like beyond the lights of the city, there are mists. Things move. As we've established, ghosts are to be respected. Never leave your children in the room with one, but sometimes, as you said, the people journey out into the desert to go ask questions of their family or wise philosophers who are out. Again, people would argue that maybe it's like you've been out there for too long, not drinking enough water, and you come back with some sort of answer. But it is I keep pointing out what a lovely place this is, really. Hey, Josh, I've got to appreciate. Thank you for taking me out of Doskvol. I can feel the clackiness on my skin already. But here, there's. Again, it's unfortunate that this is a world that doesn't have stars, but because this would be a perfect place to see them. So, the couple, they are monitoring the city. Is there anything in particular to keep an eye out for?
Just anybody who is as we've established, the city itself has probably about 1,000 people in it. Each of those would be split up into settlements of probably 20, 25, 30 people maybe. And then each Nasar would have been, certain Nasar would be assigned to certain numbers of settlements. So with Alan and Talia have probably been assigned 4 of the southeastern part of the city. And they're the area that they have to perimeter, right on the edge of where the river is. And that's the area that they have to do their perimeter around. And at one point, they'd probably cross over with Nasir of the eastern section, who covers a certain amount, and will cross paths, hand over notes, and then that's how word gets back to the capital, or gets back to the main, to the palace, should I say. But as a secondary duty, I do have to go with the Pharaoh as when needed, which is why it's good that there's 2 of us here. So normally it's just one Nasser who handles like 5 settlements, but because there's 2 of us and we're married, I go, she can cover, she has to go off on an adventure, I can cover, sort of thing.
It is that strange thing, because people here want the best of the best, but as you said, like it does get a bit difficult when Nasar is sent off on duty and unfortunately also dies, where you're sort of like the one of the Nasar of the Northwest Quadrant was lost to the desert, and so it is that sort of that's kind of a little bit of the scuttlebutt at the moment, where it's like, cool, do we simply like get like someone from the north to cover it? Do we promote one of the new recruits? Or so it's that sort of thing where you're kind of like going, because there is it's such a good collection of people, but is that a weird thing of feeling, do we really want to rush someone through at this point? And again, as we've established, there's such a strong oral history here that they're going, oh yes, we do remember when this family member managed to make a terrible faux pas and nearly caused the Pharaoh to fall, which of course made the family, fall.
Got to drop down the ladder, put them on the Nasar guard duty.
Yes, where you're just sort of like going, but I think that's also the sort of while the pharaoh is the representative of the civilization, there is also that understanding of going, a man who rules over an unhappy nation is no ruler. So, as I said, there is, as you're walking around, there's a real, again, it's sort of like, it's an interesting thing. It's you're not feared, you are respected, and they also, like, the people in your 4 blocks also know that you're not a man to bribe. You're not a man, again, sort of like for the Nassar, where, of course, a Nassar would never take a bribe. But there are ways of, like, going, when the pharaoh's eye is not upon you. There's, not these two. Just try and do some smuggling. But yes, sort of like, so as you're seeing that, sort of, you're not, people aren't like rushing up to you and like, oh, good morning, but they are sort of like respectfully like acknowledging you as you are walking with your fellow soldier and good lady wife.
We'd know a few of the people as well. We would have had this post for a few years.
Oh, yes.
So
Yeah.
doing this perimeter check every day, either on our own or together, probably the first time we've done it together for a long time.
Yes.
But we've probably both been on quite a few activities and stuff. But we've come to know people by name, and we do greet a few people. Not, as you said, not necessarily like super friendly with people, but that's how that helps me with me looking out for people that might be causing trouble. Because if I spot somebody that I don't recognise, I'm instantly like, that person could be suspicious.
I think there's sort of like it's quite a strange. Again, it's not strange for the people in this little few streets, but that sort of thing where you're seeing this man, again with the very intuitive eyes, you take in a lot. And that sort of strange thing of you're preparing to put something out and there's just 2 people staring at you, and then they're like, that's Hassan, that's fine. we can keep going. Yes, you actually, that's the point. Would you like to make a roll? Now we're in the flashback.
Yeah, let's make as I'm looking, I'm going to say survey would be the one that makes the most sense.
You have nothing in survey.
I have nothing in survey. But it works better than study, I think.
Yes. So survey is to roll. If you've got no pips, that's to roll 2 dice, and we take the lowest.
The lowest. Now, remind me, because I've not played for a while.
Yes.
When is it that we put experience into a
skill?
That's when it's a difficult. Yeah. I just want to double check in case I'd missed it.
No.
I had a 1. As we're in flashback, I'm going to push it because this stress is going to go away at the end of the flashback.
Is it now?
Yes, it will.
Okay. Sure. Do you want to take extra? Do you want to push it up to? What would you like to push it up to?
I'll push 3. Oh, sorry. I'll take 3 stress to push it to a 4.
That's fair. You have a moment of going, and again, it's a part of you that you lock deep dark, hidden away, where you're like, I'm with my wife. I really like my wife. Yay. But then you just like go, no, that's not. So you had like a moment of having like a really some dopey grin, and like, because again, you haven't spent time with each other. You have been the pharaoh previously had gone off to a meeting of other pharaohs, sort of like a discussion. There'd been your pharaoh's father had fought a war, and now it's like the anniversary of that war, and it's that kind of weird thing of like, right, we're coming together. The agreement between the 2 kingdoms to exchange goods, that as part of the treaty, which could have got quite dangerous didn't. Actually, for you, I think it was a bit boring because it was like a lot of like people talking and like reading through the minutes of these previous meetings, and you're standing there and just going, And Talia had been, again, had stayed, and so you haven't seen each other. She keeps being sent off to, again, to, as I said, like to help consult, where they were like, actually, no, that's the thing. So around this time, it was like, also, we need to make sure that the Pharaoh's father still approves of this. And like, cool, we need to go track down a ghost in the desert. And he came back and he was like, I don't care. And they're like, cool. The old Pharaoh simply states, I don't care.
It'd be like a pilgrimage to what would be this world's version of the Valley of Kings.
Yes, where the kings, and so that's the because they stay around the bodies a lot of the time. So that's sort of it's the nice thing where you've built a tomb, and then again, if we're taking the Egypt thing of like, we are giving the king a lot of nice things. And a lot of paintings, but then it's just like, I don't care about the war. So yes, my point being, you've made it into a good role. Yes, you are taking in. This is a world with shadows, and there's always faces in the shadows. I don't think with that now having pushed that role, you're not like stopping and, like I said, where you're not like standing there until he turns around and you're like, good, it is Hassan, the carpet maker. You are all right. But you have taken a moment to be excited that you're with the woman that you love her. You do. Again, she's great. Again, put that on the poster. She's great. My point being, you don't see there's a few things where you're sort of clocking and you're like, okay, why is that person not making eye contact with me? Interesting. But you're not seeing anyone like sharpening a knife going, when I kill the Pharaoh, then I should be Pharaoh. I'm thinking of like a Disney villain where he's got like a parrot and he's like, and then I should be Sultan. No. On the whole, this seems like a pretty normal morning. I think that a few people do come up to you, and you get thanks for some of the problems you've solved. A couple of people are like, is that sort of weird thing of like when you see like a Justicar, where someone's like, well, I'm not happy about this, and you happen to be like, You're like, is that an actual problem, or are you just upset that you're like, well, his pottery is not of the quality he promises, and I assure you, I make excellent pots. And Talia's like going, also like you going, well, again, my friends, that's a real problem. No, we will investigate it. Well, my pots, my lovely pots. Yes, no, of course, yes. Side eye glances at you and like, such a slight eye roll. So subtle, so secretive.
Is there a problem with the clay delivery that you had that we could potentially investigate?
Well, I mean, if you could investigate, I mean, not that I'm complaining about the way that the Pharaoh may the sun shine on him once again. Not that I'm complaining about the way that the sun is. Again, he's flustered.
There is no. What is a sun?
Yes, it's weird that's a kind of, because there is talk of about 1,000 years ago that there was a great orb in the sky which heated the desert, which drove back the ghosts, and then for your people, that there was a war in the sky between the sun and the moon, and they consumed each other, and as they did, a great rift was torn and the dead began pouring out. So the fact that he said may the sun shine is just sort of like, it's a bizarre.
It's probably a thing. We're probably one of the few cultures in the world that still acts on our ancient history, so we would probably have carvings of the sun and the moon.
Oh yeah,
and we probably reference them as gods. And the gods would probably literally just be sun and moon.
Yes, it's simple as that.
Or solar and lunar or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will certainly investigate the issue that you have with your play stocks in the process, in the meantime, while this investigation is being done. May I suggest that you maybe lower the price of the products that you have made so far, so as to not upset the other members of the community? Would that be agreeable to you, sir?
Again, this you could see him kind of like a little bit like, it's that sort of weird thing of like going, I still want to make money, but he knows the quality of his pots are not up to the standard. Yes, most agreeable. Thank you, Nassar.
That's fine. We all live in harmony together. There is no point in us being at each other's throats when there is other things, more pressing concerns in the world, and also ways to solve the issue itself. This is what our great pharaoh has taught us through, and their line has taught us through their rulership. And it is something that we should live by. Do you not agree?
The fact you keep asking him these questions keeps like startling him, because usually you'd think like the Nassar would be like, no, this is what you're doing, but you seem to be actually asking him proper like philosophical questions. And no, of course, Nassar, you're right. Yes, the community must remain strong. I apologize. He's very
There's no need to apologize, my friend. Let's just deal with this in a more diplomatic fashion, should we say. I'm leaning into the fact that I'm very heavily consort is probably my highest stat, along with hunt. So I'm more of a talker than I am a fighter.
Yes.
So trying to lean into that a bit.
Yes, I think that's, as
this
I said,
is where it originated from.
Yes. Like I said, like when you were at the diplomatic meeting, where, again, the Pharaoh doesn't speak to you, but you know from your commander, Argan, that he is it's that sort of thing that, when you were finishing the day, when Argan would ask you, what did you perceive, what did you hear? And again, you would never think that you would ever guide the hand of the Pharaoh, but a good pair of eyes and a smart brain, someone who's able to, a diplomatic choice. As I said, like the Pharaoh's father was a warrior. I said, fought these wars. The fact that he now the ghost doesn't care. He's like, well, I'm not fighting the war, why? But yes, the fact that, and again, it's sort of like in your time in service, this has been a change, and this always changes depending on the Pharaoh. But sort of like for your father and your mother, that was a more wartime. And now this is a time for contemplation. And it said, you could very easily seize this man's property and then be like, shame on you. We throw it into the river and make it bad. Of course, he would never dare, again, counterfeit or be. He's embarrassed that this was brought up. And again, it's one thing to have a disagreement with your neighbour over a pot. It's another when a representative of the Pharaoh comes and starts trying to talk. But yes, I'm not going to make you roll. I think you have just, for your standing in the society and the fact that you just gave a very sort of diplomatic. No, he knows that you could have taken a very different solution to this. So his neighbour sort of also kind of barrels to you and is like, "Thank you, Nassar. Much appreciated. We wish you a very pleasant day. May the sun shine upon you."
Yes, may it shine on you also.
I just like that as just such a hopeful thing. It's like, may it one day the sun. Yeah, one day the sun's going to come back. Yes. Talia is just well handled.
There's no point in a fight or a disagreement breaking out over something like that. I do not see the point in it myself.
No.
But then I have dealt with a lot of things that have had more of a significant impact on our people.
Very true, very true.
As a thing, my dear.
Oh, well, of course, husband mine, I wasn't. She kind of like picks a little bit. I'm aware of my accolades, but no, this is again sort of looks around and it's like we have made quite a charming little place.
Yes.
No one kicks the animals. No one lights fires in doorways. We have, if we may be permitted to give ourselves accolades, we have done an excellent job.
I agree. It's a lovely life that we live.
It sure is.
For the moment.
The Blade Master just cackles quietly in the corner. You continue your walk and eventually reach the river. Huge, flowing. Do you think you've ever seen the sea?
That is a very good question. I reckon you can see the sea from the palace, from the balconies on the palace. I reckon it's high enough up for you to be able to see it. But I don't think the Pharaoh's never had any need to cross the sea to go anywhere.
When you've had your...
Yeah. Sorry, Karen.
I was going to say, when you've had your diplomatic missions, you've headed further inland, but...
Yeah.
Yes. The sea is a travel, but you can... and it is the strangeness of when you stand on the balcony of the palace, you can see the sea. And there is light. And that... For you, that's odd, sort of to see it. And you speak to the traders. You know that the oceans of this world are full of constellations. It is the belief again of your people that when the sun and the moon fought and the stars fell, they fell into the sea where they sunk deep, deep, deep down, and that's where they reside among unknowable things. That the whales, that again, other lands where the oil of the whale powers their civilization, and again, if to have such celestial bodies fall into your home, you can't help but change. But the water of the river, again, is dark, wine dark, even in the light. It's deep, but also the soil around the river is strong, and the crops. And this is why other kingdoms would want to claim your land, because of the richness of the soil and the smell as well. The river is strong, but it is fresh. You could drink from it. It wasn't necessarily advised, not only because of because of the things that could be in the river, just in general, not just bacteria, but other things, corruption. But it's your poets, a lot of the art in the tombs of the pharaohs is of the river, and it is constant and is moving. From start to end, there is a circle to it. And I mean, the circle of life, it moves us all. But I'm just doing a lot of talking about how beautiful this river is, because I want you to feel bad when you have to leave, Josh. I'm
100% going to feel that.
Yeah.
I reckon as we get there, as you said, the soil is rich at the edges of it, so there would be people who are part of the settlement who are known as river farmers, and they would make you can't really farm food in the desert itself without water nearby. So this is where most of the settlements going up along the eastern side, because we're on the east side, that's where the whole river stretches, and there's farms going all the way up, river farms going all the way up. So, you know, we'd find crops and stuff and farmers tending to them and everything. Would stop off and ask anybody if they've had any incidences of creatures coming out of the water or anything. It hasn't been an incident for a long time, but it's always good to check with the people.
It is. It's a civilization that is. This is again. I don't want to. I was about to say it's not a stupid civilization, but the fact is, like, they're going. Yeah, if you go swimming in the river, there are things out there. We instill that from birth. You're like, don't go. But no, you're glad to hear that there has been no incidents of creatures coming out of the river and causing any trouble. The harvest seems it's probably going to be a good harvest this year.
This is very good, and the whole civilization would treat the river, like you said, as a sacred thing. So there wouldn't be any boats or bridges on it. There'd be nothing that would be man-made that could potentially contaminate it.
Which, again, where I think that is a understanding of your people. Like, you have been to places where they have broached the river, and then you're just like, wonderful, amazing, yeah. Why don't you just respect the river? Again, having known people who have just gone into the river and never come out again, where you're just like, it is that weird thing of like a civilization being going, yep, certain sacrifices must be made. And if it happens to be that somebody got drunk and decided to swim the river, whatever keeps the river happy.
Not much I can do about it.
Nope.
Just try and keep the people safe.
It's the most important thing. As I said, you know, as long as the people are happy, then the pharaoh is happy, and it is a good kingdom. It is, again, you and your wife patrol the side of the river, taking in, you know, and when Rafe sits in his tiny, burnt-out little box, this is something that stays with him, because this, to be amongst your people, seeing them hard at work, knowing that there is going to be good food, there's going to be health, you know, sort of they're growing medicinal plants, and you are next to the woman who you have tied your soul to, you know, you trust each other implicitly, you are as one, you know, in trust and in marriage, and this is the last really happy moment you have in this land, and you're not one to indulge in fantasy, but when you are lost within your own mind, there is a part of you who just wants to say, stop here, no further. And I can feel the mud beneath my sandals, and I can feel the warmth from this woman. And that doesn't mean that the young man who comes running, he will never reach you. That young man who comes running, and he is one of the young Nassar. He's still, you know, he still hasn't graduated, but, you know, and you're used to this, you know. They send the runners, and you've done it. Nassar's, you're, you shouldn't be out of breath. This is not good. This is not good. Your presence is requested at the palace.
Are you well? You are out of breath. You must have ran. You must have put a lot of boot into your running.
I ran as fast as I could. The commander requests, gestures to both of you, requests your presence.
Of course. This must be very serious if we both must come.
Yes.
Leave our posts.
Yes. As soon as possible.
We will head up now. Shall we leave, dear?
So takes it, looks him up, and yes, by all means. She seems hesitant.
You run along and tell the commander we will be there shortly. We will begin making our way now. Send him off and then turn. Is everything all right? Are you okay?
I do not recognize the boy.
He's wearing the clothes of the apprentices. Really struggling, really trying not to make Star Wars references. He's a young Padawan.
The younglings.
The youngling.
Master Skywalker. There's too many of them. He says, picking up his Star Wars mug. Like,
yeah. Speaking of which.
Yay! Yeah. You say that. You say, well, you know, he's in the sort of the tunic of a young apprentice, and she's hesitant. And again, in your dreamscape, you're like, I should have done something. I should have listened. But everything's fine. Everything is fine. The two of you set off at a good. I think. Again, it's not seen to run. That's an Asar does not run, but you are definitely walking at it. And again, she is of a similar height to you, so you're both keeping pace with each other as you're walking north. As we said, like up near the. I'm trying to think of forgive me, friends. It's been a long day, but basically the birth of the river. The mouth of the river, yes, yeah. Sort of up, where the river is born under the palace. You know, it was built, and again, you say that's risky to build a building over the river, especially something that floods. And they're like, we're aware, we're not stupid. We've worked towards this, and that has also made the palace very luscious. You know, fresh water taken. Hopefully, because it's the mouth of the river, some of the crocodillos and odd things that exist probably aren't at that point. Although there is talk about sometimes things crawl out of the river, and then it's up to not only the Nassar but the house staff to get a stick and go, no, get back in the river, get out here. You will not. Pharaoh, yeah, go ahead.
As soon as we get to the palace, we know as serving Nassar that the first thing that you must do when you enter the palace is you must go to your barracks and you have to change into your ceremonial armor. You're not allowed to walk around the palace as an active Nassar without your ceremonial armor on, and you're definitely not allowed to be in the presence of the king without the pharaoh without it. So I would go put mine on, and she would go off and do hers because her department's in a different place. Yeah. So yeah, and mine is gold armor. Like a breastplate missing the midriff. The midriff is exposed with brown, not leather, but like a brown material, like a cotton material, but thicker and rougher than cotton underneath to stop the chafing on the metal and stuff. And the same on the leggings. There'd be like very basic gold greaves, and gold gauntlets that I would wear with browns. And my wife would wear a similar sort of thing instead of wearing a lighter brown, she has pure white.
Yes, the pure
garments on.
White. Folks, we are pre-recording this, but I do know Josh loves to make Hero Forge, so I myself am very excited. Yes, I'm very excited to see what these ceremonial armors look like. But yes, again, in the future. Maybe if you hadn't had to change your armor, things would be different, but it's not right. No. Again, and there's a reason for protocol, and it would also be so dishonorable, to turn up in your the sandals you were walking in the mud with. I mean, it's sacred mud, but no. So you change and you hurry up the stairs. Wow, that certainly happened, did it not? Such lovely crimes. Now, if you have enjoyed what we've put out for you here this evening, you'll find us playing Dungeons and Dragons at Roll Together RPG. That's Mondays and Tuesdays, 6 p.m. UK time, and on Fridays we play other TTRPGs, such as Blades in the Dark. Now, all our shows can be found at twitch.tv/rolltogetherrpg, and you can find all of our content archived at youtube.com/rolltogetherrpg. There are podcast versions of all our shows available, where all good podcasts are available. Simply search for Roll Together RPG. Now, massive thank you to the D20 Club on Patreon. I can't do the heart symbol, but I do adore every single one of you. Now, there's a link in the chat if you feel like you want to join these fine folks by donating one of your local currency, which, as we have well established in the world of Dungeons & Dragons, is worth 1 goat. We'll be absolutely delighted to join you. As previously mentioned, they made us a Discord, they made us a wiki. They are top. Thank you very much to our supporters and our sponsors. Don't forget, if you search on social media, we are Roll Together RPG. Thank you for watching. Stay safe and don't let the blue coats catch you.